The topic today is going to be getting organized. And it may not be as obvious as it sounds. I am going to cover a couple of different components of organization. The first of which will be organizing your schedule. I have touched on minor components of this in some of the Motivation Monday sessions we do, but this is going to be very more expansive. And then the second component on the end of the session will be organizing your computer. Coming from the sales background of doing insurance over the phone since 2002 and never having sold face-to-face, it became really important for me to have my computer organized so that I could access files for clients, et cetera, things of that nature, brochures from carriers. So I want to give you a couple of hints and tips that I have used in the past to really just make things more easy so that I can accomplish more and keep track of things better and really be fully prepared for my day before I get on the phone, like doing a session, for instance, or starting to call on clients. So the question I would ask is, do you have a defined schedule? Most people go through their daily lives, whether it's business or personal, very unscripted, especially insurance agents who may not work in an office. You may not have to show up anywhere except your home office. So we have to deal with distractions and things of that nature. That's all the more reason we need a very defined schedule to treat it like it is a job. You know, I often say if you were your boss, which you are the boss if you're an independent agent, but if you were observing your business acumen and how efficient you are, would you be reprimanded by yourself? Would you give yourself a raise? Or would you say, hey, you know what, there's room for improvement, or you're doing perfectly fine? When you do a self-assessment like that and do it honestly, it can really be the catalyst to opening up, having a bigger, more blossoming, effective career. So if you don't have a defined schedule, I have one, and we're going to get to that, but I'm going to show you some of the things of why it matters and how to do it. Because you cannot wing it throughout the day, and no one has a good enough memory to recall everything. You know, there are times in your life where you're probably like, oh, I missed an appointment, or I missed that phone call, I missed calling that client back. That's because there are a lot of things going on and a lot of things happening that can capture our attention. So if you don't have tasks listed and scheduled throughout your day, or let's say you didn't schedule appointments, how would you ever make it? And how would you know when to schedule other ones and have a balance of even things like when you're going to take a break for lunch and things of that nature? I used to be in a really bad habit of working through lunch so often that I would get a headache because I didn't eat or drink anything. And now I have since prioritized my goals, and that's one of them. It's important to eat, right, and stay hydrated for your health and for your drive and having the energy to do your business. So all these little subtle things actually can have an impact on your overall success. So you must write things down. If someone calls you and says, hey, you know what, June 29th, that's why people send out, and I'm going off track a slight bit, but that's why people send out a save the date for what may potentially be their engagement party or a wedding, because they want you to write it down so that you don't book anything on top of it, so that you will attend. It's the same thing. Save the date, save your goals, save your career, meaning two ways. Write down the important things, and in turn, it will allow you to grow your career, because you'll be handling all of the necessary tasks and getting things done and be just more focused, more organized, and more efficient. And that's huge. You know, they have people who have a career as an efficiency expert. And one of the first things they do is they check out the employees and what they're doing on a daily basis, and if they're accomplishing those tasks, if they even have those tasks defined. So there are steps you can take to become more efficient in your sales and in your career and business. So what I always do is start with what I call time locks. Meaning, if you're writing out your daily schedule, what are the things that you know are locked into that schedule that you probably can't change, that you have to work around? One of the examples I like to use is picking up a child. If you have to pick up a child from school at 3 p.m. in the afternoon, or whatever time it is, you have to write that into your schedule. And how long does it get there? Meaning, if the school is 15 minutes away, 5 minutes away, what is the time it takes to get to that destination? If it is 15 minutes and the time back is 15 minutes, I suggest you block out longer than that, meaning leaving at 2:40 p.m. so you have 20 minutes in case anything goes wrong, you hit traffic or a railroad crossing, or in my case, very often this time of year, I hit the drawbridge. So if I'm ever going anywhere Saturday afternoon, I have to go out to the chiropractor. I have to factor that in that might happen, and I have to leave a little earlier. The thing that we don't often do enough is put that into our schedule, meaning instead of me calling clients at 2 o'clock, 2:15, 2:30, and then I get on the phone call with one of them and I'm in an hour-long conversation and I can't pick up my child from school. I don't have a child currently, but I'm just using that as an example. So what I would do is formulate my task into some of the stuff where I know I could always leave at 2:40 to make this happen, if this is something that applies to you. If not, awesome. Then just keep calling clients and writing sales. It's a beautiful thing. But if you do have anything like a time, like let's say you have a dental appointment, a standing dental appointment for ongoing work at 10 a.m. on Tuesday, you want to make sure that's put into your schedule and you come back and are able to focus on whatever the task that is next in your day to run your business is. If you don't do that, the day can completely get away from you and be derailed, because unfortunately we do have occurrences that will interrupt our day. And I often use the example of, let's say our child is sick at school, we have to go pick them up. If we are not following a schedule, we very often can't get back to where we were, and then we let the whole day get away from us. It's possible that happens, and that's what we don't want, because you want consistency and you want to keep that momentum. So having an organized schedule is really important. Big businesses couldn't operate without it when they have multiple shifts and there are people working 24/7. I was recently speaking to someone about, I can't remember what the company was, unfortunately, but they literally have 2 full-time shifts with 2 supervisors, because one is normal operating hours, let's say 9 to 5. The next shift is like 6 to whatever, 4 in the morning. And then Saturdays and Sundays. So they actually have this whole full schedule set, and they have to put the pieces of the puzzle together to keep that business running. And Amazon's a great example. They have to have people working 24 hours a day. So you have to be very organized and have people managed properly. When it's our own business, we have to manage ourselves. So what you should do is add your tasks, and I kind of briefly touched on this in one of the motivation meetings, as I mentioned. Add tasks to your daily schedule. Calling new clients is one of the things you would like to do. Any appointments you set. Now, I would always set appointments in the later afternoon so that I could always be calling new clients in the morning and try to get my sales, because I'm a big fan of one-call closing. So I would try to contact people, get that sale, so I know I made my money for the day. And then in the afternoon, great, I'm going to make even more money if my clients show up for their appointment or I follow up in time. But I have to have that organized. I actually used to have a file folders like real paper ones in a drawer that had Monday through Friday on it. And I would put my lead, because I would print out leads back in the day. I would put the lead with a date and time, meaning I'm calling them Thursday at 3:30. And it would go in that folder. So Thursday morning, I would look in the Thursday folder and I would say, hey, okay, I have a 3:30, I have a 4:30. And I would put that into my schedule because it was left open for appointments, just to give you an idea. And like this, attending training sessions. I have a lot of people that, in fact, more people watch this actually after it is recorded on the replay. A lot of people don't show up because either they don't have it scheduled or something happens. You'll often notice people show up late because maybe they were on a phone call, which basically tells me that they may not be managing their time properly, in that they're not leaving enough time before this session, if they want to attend it, to be able to. And that's one of the things, is because sometimes these things are random. Now, this one I moved up earlier from 1 p.m. to 11 because I have to catch a flight out to Texas. Anyone out there, come and see us at the IIAT trade show going on in San Antonio. So I'm looking forward to getting out of this rainy couple of days we had and hit some 70-degree weather. But I had to shift this in my schedule so that I was able to still do it and then get to the airport on time and get out. So it's all things like this that actually factor into our daily tasks. And as I said, you may be doing other things other than insurance, but you have to focus on the time you have allotted to do the insurance successfully. And by scheduling all these tasks, that has to be a priority. As I said, meals and breaks. Because again, you don't want to go too long. And I know a lot of people say, why do you tell people that they could take breaks? Because you should. It's recharging. I'm not saying take a break for a day and a half, but I'm saying every now and then we need to recharge and just clear our head and come back and switch tasks and then let things marinate so that you can come back and look at it with fresh eyes. I learned that doing recording music. Every now and then you should step away, clear your head, and you come back with fresh ears and you'll notice things you didn't. That's always important to kind of take a break and schedule it throughout your day. So it's almost something you have to look forward to, meaning I'm going to call for 3 hours straight, but then I'm going out and getting an ice cream and then I'm coming back if it's a nice day. I live on the boardwalk, so things like that obviously pop in my head. But it's all these little things. You're giving yourself little rewards for doing your job. Basically that's it. Besides the pay, besides the reward of helping people, you should set up little things that actually give you a little bit of a break and a small amount of joy. So whatever it is, and you have to decide, get it on your schedule. Here's a schedule that I always recommend. 1 through 10 is sell, 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 eat, sell, bathroom, maybe, and then sell more and sell more. And the reason why I do this is not to look like a slave driver, but it is to hammer home the point that the most important thing any salesperson can do on a daily basis is sell. Submit policies and keep submitting policies. That is the lifeblood of a salesperson or a sales professional. You have to sell, and very often, because we aren't organized in our schedule, we get distracted with other tasks that aren't necessarily bringing in money to our business. Now, I'm not talking about if you have to learn products because you have to learn the product to sell. I'm not talking about if you're attending sessions like this because you have to learn a set of skills and all of the components that allow you to have a successful business. I'm talking about some people have CNN on, and that's a distraction. Whether people want to admit it or not, that is a distraction. I used to be completely guilty of it. NFL Network was always on, and I admittedly will say it was a distraction, and now I no longer even have cable. So I didn't change it for that. I changed it because I don't watch anymore, and if anything else, I use my Fire TV and Netflix. So, but this is a good example, is you want to focus on everything that's important, and that's selling, because a lot of people get caught up in admin work and other things, and don't do that. Let that stuff sit for as long as it can. Just sell, make your money. In fact, if you wanted to really schedule up front the bulk of your work in the beginning of the week, and then tasks like admin and follow up towards the end of the week. So this way you can confidently achieve your goals and make sure you're selling on a consistent basis. So the action steps here for setting up your schedule will be: note your time blocks first. If you're just taking notes, whether it's on a computer or actually old school, like I still enjoy, is a pen and paper. Whatever the time blocks are, even if you're just looking 1 week at a time. Do you want to attend the trainings we have Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, the Monday meeting, so you can get kicked off with some motivation and some insight? Whatever it is, you want to write that down in your week. Second thing is, note your tasks. What are your goals? Do you want to make 3 sales? Do you want to contact, 3 small businesses? Do you want to go to a jiu-jitsu studio and offer them accident plan coverage and things like that? Whatever it is, you want to put that in your daily schedule. And that's another thing. If you're doing face-to-face appointments, you already have to have a grasp on what you're doing schedule-wise, because you wouldn't make it to any of your appointments if you didn't say, okay, how long is it going to take me to get to such and such an address? You would be a mess. And sometimes we are, because other things happen. But the more organized you are, the better. So if you're selling face-to-face, you really should, if you're selling over the phone, you really should look at it the same way, as in, here are the tasks I have to do. Here are the time schedules. What are the hours you want to work? Maybe you don't want to work as much on a Friday during the summer, and you want to leave earlier and only work till 1. Well, you better have your Friday prioritized, because there may be clients who need you, emails that have to be responded to. And that kind of correlates to what I said about making the beginning of your week maybe a little bulk task hours oriented, and then as you get towards the weekend. Now, open enrollment changes everything, because many of us work 7 days a week, and that's how it is. So while you have the time, do it now. But get it on your schedule. So after you have your tasks and the time blocks, obviously schedule them in order of priority. Meaning if you want to spend a few hours in the morning calling new clients, that's what you need to do. In the afternoon, you want to follow up with appointments, that's what you should do. And then, of course, stick to it. The problem with most people is that we have habits that are ingrained in us over a long time. That's why people don't stick to diets. That's why it's very difficult to quit smoking, because nicotine only lasts, the addiction, 4 days, 3 or 4 days. So it's the actual habit that you're going outside and having a cigarette that makes it very challenging for people to quit smoking. So when you look at things like that, you really have to stick to this every day till you create a new habit. Everybody wants to succeed. Everybody wants to sell more. Everybody wants to do something, have better relationships, lose weight, like I said. It comes down to sticking to the things that work and changing the habits that you've already created. So you always want to stick to your new schedule and staying organized. This is a schedule that I created. It is from 7 a.m., I think, to 6 p.m. And this was something I did because I sat down with one of our field recruiters to see if we could fine tune her effectiveness, and it worked extremely well. She literally sent me an email a few days later saying, "This is so great because I'm more focused." We literally worked out the entire schedule with times and attending trainings, and this is what I'm going to do. And we eliminated some of the time that was invested in tasks that didn't really give the greatest return. Were still important, like let's say some social media work, but it didn't need to be 8 hours a week. Let's say it needed to be 4. So when you start to formulate this, you will see a picture start to appear of what you really should be doing and where your time is going, because that's part of the problem. Most people don't even know where the time goes, right? And that's a famous expression. Wow, I don't even know where the time went. That's either a good or bad thing. It's good when it flies by because you're doing something you enjoy, or it's bad because you didn't get everything done. So when you have a daily schedule like this, it's easier to stay connected to it. So I have a copy of this. If anyone wants it, email me, rob.liano, Liano, at ahcpsales.com, so that you can start to write out your own schedule and put in time for lunch. Or let's say you wanted to take a break, like we said, and watch NFL Network, the O Network, or CNN, or whatever, things of that nature. You could actually write it in and feel okay about it, and then indulge and go back to work. Businesses where you work give you breaks as well. So the more you start to structure this like a real business and look at it as such, the better. So if you don't track your time, how do you find time for other things? I read a really good article where it said most people don't keep track of their time or money. And what they say is generally not consistent with the trail of time and money, meaning people will say, yeah, you know what, I want to save money, I want to get a new car, but then they're buying the latest Apple Watch, or they're buying something, new clothes, whatever. They're not actually saving their money, meaning what they're saying and what they're doing are dramatically two different things. Same thing goes for family and time, meaning, yeah, well, I absolutely want to go see my child play soccer, but then they wind up missing it because something came up. And when I say this, I know things can come up and you can miss things. I've done it. I've missed responding to an email. But when it starts to be a pretty consistent pattern, you really need to assess what's going on, what's wrong, and how you can correct it. So my suggestion for today would also be start tracking your time. I did this, man, and I was wasting a ton of time, and I corrected it. And this is what I realized. I read another great quote that said, we have the same amount of time that Bill Gates has, Steve Jobs had, Benjamin Franklin, Lincoln, etc. We all have the great equalizer, 24 hours in a day. And yet very often we're going to say, wow, you know what? We don't have enough time. I am going to say it is what you do with it. And I'm going to give you a really good example of how much time we actually have. So if we have 24 hours in a day, we have 8 hours to sleep. Now that picture, if you're on the actual web share, is what we look like during open enrollment. So, or when I go to Oregon and I've landed at 5 in the morning and I have to be in the office the next morning at like whatever time, 8. So that's kind of what I look like probably as well. So we have 24 hours in a day. 8 hours to sleep leaves us 16 hours. And I know a lot of people don't sleep 8 hours. So I'm just going to make this a general example. 16 hours minus 8 hours to work. And yes, I use the same picture on purpose because that is some people at work. So 8 hours to work leaves us 8 hours. From that 8 hours, we actually have 4 hours for family time. So it could be an hour bringing your child to school, preparing their lunch, picking them up, coming back, preparing dinner. 4 hours for family time. Now, yes, there may be other things like soccer practice, et cetera, but I'm just going to give you an example. From 4 hours, you can watch TV for 2 hours, meaning you still have 2 hours of full TV watching. Now, I would suggest you record the shows and watch them without commercials because you'll be able to watch even more than 2 hours in 2 hours. If you watch that much TV, again, just giving you an example. But that's still, after everything, work, sleep, family, TV, leaves 2 hours in case you want to start building an ark, because we have had a lot of rain here lately. So I figured I would keep that picture in here. But think of the time that we have each day. So it really comes out to looking like a lot of time, but what are we doing with it? Here's the best part. That's Monday to Friday. On the weekends, we have 16 non-sleeping hours, if you sleep 8 hours, in which to be successful in our relationships, business, careers, fitness, finance, whatever it is. So it's always going to come down to really what are you doing with your time. If you don't know exactly, as I said earlier, you need to start tracking it so that you can be more effective and more successful. You may want to go to school part-time and get that degree and think you don't have time. You do. You may want to add a financial component to your insurance career. You have the ability to do it if you really want to do it badly enough. So as I said, track your time and see where maybe you can catch up on things. And I'll tell you, when I did that, man, I did it about 5 years ago. I started to really track my time on a daily basis. And I was spending way too much time on Facebook because I put up quotes every day. And at that time, the only thing I knew was logging in to post those quotes. And what happens when you log in? You get notifications, you look at the news feed, and you get really distracted. I then found a software tool online that allows me to schedule my posts in advance everywhere: LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, whatever Facebook page. And I spend a couple of hours doing that, and I am set for a month in advance. Yes, I may add things as they come up, like for a holiday or something else like that, or like soon we're going to be at the dead midpoint of the year. I may say, where are you on your goals? Things like that. But it allowed me to track my time and capitalize on saving that amount of time, because now I don't have to. I mean, there are some times I'm not on Facebook for 2 days, and it's great. I log in, there may be a couple of messages, there may be 50, 70 notifications, of which I probably only need to respond to 2, by the way, but it freed up my time. And of course, there were other things I was doing that were a total distraction. I wouldn't have known it because I was just in that habit. So co-author a book, and I published a motivational quote book. I co-authored another one that got released in Sweden. I've been a speaker. I've released 5 or 6 tracks in dance music, one of which was on the top 100 of the iTunes chart. And people always say, how do you do all this? It's because I want to, and I schedule it, and I prioritize it. And I'm not saying this to impress anyone. I'm just saying that you can do more. And if you don't have the things in your life that you want, something has to change, because consistent action brings consistent results. So change the actions and you'll change the results. So let's get on to organizing your computer, because this is important as well. Does this look like anyone's desktop? I couldn't believe I was able to find this picture, because that used to be mine. There used to be all of these things, and it's not easy to find anything. And you know, the excuse everyone uses is, yeah, but I know where everything is. No way. Not over time, you do not, because this is madness. If your desk is a total mess and cluttered, it doesn't have to be squeaky clean because you're working, but it should be really organized, meaning your desk that you sit at and your desktop of your computer. As a side note, this actually makes your computer run a lot slower if you have all this crazy stuff on the desktop. Many people don't know that, at least in Macs, which I use. It does. So your desktop should be clean, because this gets me agitated looking at it. It's like it's a mess. So I would start there with your desktop. Second thing, what about your web browser? If you are not using the tab feature and in groups, you absolutely should be. I'll give you an example. I have a tab group, meaning bookmarks, in one group folder for AHCP sales, my Schedulicity, which is where my phone calls are scheduled, the CRM that we use, and another CRM that I'm starting to work with. Whatever it is, you can have it saved in a group of tabs. I checked. Chrome does this. Safari does this. Internet Explorer, which I know is now going to be some new name, does it, as does Firefox. So everything you use under bookmarks, you can save the group of tabs or a single tab. And it's a tab like a file folder in order, the colors in different tabs, right? Very simple to explain. When I was selling full time, you can guess what I had in a group of tabs. I had doctor networks in one whole group, meaning I would have to have 3 windows open of a web browser because the doctor networks were on one. My portals that I would submit policies on were on another, and anything like that nature if I had my own CRM. Because I don't want to be bogged down when I'm on the phone with the client. They say, hey, can you see if my doctor's in a network? I say, yeah, boom, switch screens, and bam, I'm right there. What's your doctor's name? Because I already know which plan I'm presenting, so I am able to go check this tab. So preparation is key to make it easier. That will give you more time, and you'll be more effective and appear as more of an expert on the phone with your clients. And it's very simple. If you don't know how to do what I'm talking about, go to google.com, search in using tabs in whatever it is, Chrome, Safari, Firefox, etc., Opera, whatever it is, your operating system. So as I said, every browser can bookmark all tabs. It's a huge feature. So here's just an example of how. I did Chrome, and then I showed Safari in this. The red arrow on the bottom right-hand side has Chrome, where it says bookmark all tabs. And all I did was check, right? You see what the headline says? Save sets of multiple tabs in the bookmarks bar, because I wanted to make sure before I told people about this that whatever web browser you were using, it would work. So the bottom right, bookmark all tabs, which means you would open up your browser and you would have, let's say, AHCP sales, because you want to check in on what training we've done and maybe you want to keep that on here. Then you'd have to go in, open another tab on your web browser and go to a website on that tab, then open a third, then open a fourth, and then you'll be able to hit that button that says bookmark all tabs. On the top left is me using Safari. It says add bookmarks for these 5 tabs. So that's how it goes. Okay. Now, you also want to create files on your computer, on the desktop, or in a subfolder, no matter where it is. I'm going to give you an example. I've created AHCP, an entire folder that holds everything that I need to refer to, artwork that we use, trackers for the elite agents we have, PowerPoint presentations, stuff for trade shows, training documents, etc. But I have one main folder called AHCP, and then a whole bunch of subfolders holding everything that I need. Obviously, there are some on the bottom there that aren't organized yet, which means I probably have to create more folders. But it allows me in a moment's notice to go, oh, yeah, I could check out the expenses. And I go, bam, there are the expenses for the week. Here's some of my sales training documents in that folder. Huge, huge asset, because you want to create client folders, right? You want to have insurance carrier products in folders and their brochures. You want to have whatever it is. If you have even passwords or links or receipts, anything that you need, create folders for it. I have an entire separate hard drive, an external hard drive that has everything in it, man. I can take that hard drive and go anywhere and work off of anyone's computer if I had to, because it literally has everything on it. I hardly work off the hard drive on this actual computer. I'm basically working off my external, which is huge because I just got a new computer, 27-inch instead of the 21, and all I had to do was unplug the hard drive, plug it in here, and bam, everything was there, basically, except some stuff I maybe downloaded from iTunes music-wise and some photos. But the transfer process was so simple because I was already wicked prepared and organized. Okay. Great quote from A. Milne, who I believe wrote Winnie the Pooh. Organizing is what you do before you do something, so that when you do it, it is not all mixed up.